loading up my, hello everybody. My name is Crispina French. I am really excited to be here with you, and I'm gonna let it just kind of like settle in a little bit and just make sure we're not getting started before people are able to join in. If you are out there watching, let me know, where are you tuning in from? Is this your first time visiting? Have you seen the previous sessions of my sun hat sessions with making sun hats out of recycled textiles? Cute little bucket hat. It's reversible. We're gonna go over the next steps on how to, the next steps we left off on Friday. So if you guys did not see the first 2 sessions of the sun hat tutorial, you can scroll back on whatever platform that you're watching now and catch a glimpse of those. There's 2, and I really try to keep them to 20 minutes with a little chit chat like we're doing now at the beginning and at the end. So if you have any questions, we can do a quick Q&A at the end, and in just a couple minutes I am going to get started. So let me know, where are you right now? Is it very hot by you? It's really a scorcher by me. I'm in Western Massachusetts. Oh, I see Christine from Uxbridge. Yay! Focus is blurry on YouTube. That's funny. I'm not sure why that would be going on. Let me just check my connectivity here. Thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it'll get better. Very odd. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Catherine. I hope that it gets better. Let me know if you're on YouTube and you're having a blurry picture. Maybe check out either Facebook or Instagram. That's an option for you. We're on all 3 platforms right now, so I'm hoping that the connectivity improves. So, welcome. This is day number 3 of my sun hat tutorial, and I am, my name is Crispina French, and I am a textile recycling alchemist, artist, entrepreneur, and activist. And my passion is teaching other people the options, the idea, the creative way to look at used clothing and textile waste of any kind, if it's scraps from your cutting room floor, if it's manufacturing scraps, and just look at that and see the value in it, because there is so much value in it. There's so much we can do with clothing or textile scraps that, to remake. And I've done a lot of work with all sorts of people. I've had, I ran a production company for a very long time, for over 20 years, and we supplied 350 stores all over the world with home goods like blankets and rugs, and also clothing, all made from recycled textiles. And now my passion is teaching you that you have an impact, and you can make a sun hat if you follow along with us today. And you can also use this to just open your eyes to looking at things that you might not be using in your own life that could have an alternative use that would be helpful in some other way. So today we're going to kick off day number 3, and we're making these super cool sun hats. And I have a couple samples here. If anybody's tuning in for the first time, there is a page that I posted that has a bunch of information on it. Actually, it's a page that I posted where you can put your email, and I will send you a bunch of free pattern, like sun hat patterns, our tools and materials list, and also a schedule for these little classes. There's one more tomorrow when we will finish our sun hat. So if you haven't gotten started yet, it's not too late. So, okay, here we go. So this is the sun hat sample I just showed. This is a reversible one. This is from a pattern made by, let's see, I don't want to get it mixed up. This one is made by Merchant & Mills, and you can see I used a different fabric for the top, and then the same fabrics on the side and the brim on one side, and then the other side, this is made from a shirt, And I use the same fabric for all 3 panels of the hat. And then this hat is from the Liz Haywood pattern that I posted. This one's made from upholstery fabric. It's got a little bit of a wider brim. I have my hair up today, so it's probably not going to stay put on my head, but you know, it's just a little more shape created by the width of the brim here. So you can kind of choose which hat pattern you like the best for your purposes. And I made these hats kind of quickly. I didn't have time to get all patchy with the fabric, so I just wanted to show you the shapes more than anything else. But these fabrics are recycled upholstery scraps from my girlfriend who has a very beautiful high-end upholstery shop, and actually it's a really great place to source fabrics if you're in an area where there's a really beautiful high-end upholstery shop. The fabrics she uses are just gorgeous, and upholsterers generate a ton of scrap because when they're using their material on the pieces that they're upholstering, you know, they have to make the patterns match, and it oftentimes means that there's quite large swaths of fabric that go unused, and they're really high quality and beautiful. Okay, so today's day number 3, and we're gonna go, so we started out last time we met, we had the kind of homework over the weekend was to create your pieces, and each pattern that I shared is slightly different. So they're all quite similar in construction technique, but I just wanna show you what I've got here. So I have 2 hats. So this is one side of the hat that I'm making, and then this is actually the inside of the other. So it's actually gonna look like this. So it'll be reversible. And this is also the Merchant and Mills pattern. And I'm making this hat for my husband, who is not a patchy person. So I used the same fabric for the whole, you know, this side and this side is all one fabric. This is a beautiful African batik that's got a little bit more body to it than a regular like quilting fabric. It's got a little bit of wax residue in it, I think, so it gives it a nice kind of crispness. And then this is a beautiful linen fabric that I got from an e-covery project I was doing with a great company in Connecticut called 22, and they make beautiful wall coverings and they print on fabric. So I can talk more about my e-covery program another time, but so I have my 2 pieces, and now the next step, oh wait, before I go to that, the other thing I did is I didn't have any interfacing, and I don't really like the way interfacing looks with this particular project. In my experience, the interfacing that I was using creates kind of like a sort of, it's almost like a papery finish, and I wasn't crazy about it. So I used a piece of the linen, and I basted it inside of the rim of this side, and I'm going to now put these right sides together, and I'm going to match up my seams. And I want to point out that if you don't have a sewing machine, not to worry. This is actually quite a nice project for even beginners. You have to be patient with yourself, and I know that's really challenging for some people. This particular hat that I'm working on right now is completely hand sewn. So it's a really simple running stitch, and I'm gonna match my side seam. So here is a side seam right here, okay? I'm going to match that with the seam on the other side. So I'm going to right sides together, pin them to each other. I toyed with the idea, and actually this is kind of a fun thing to think about. You can put them right sides together and then have a finished hat that has kind of like a ruffly kind of cut edge around the perimeter. Like I said, I'm making this hat for my husband. He is not a ruffly edged person. He likes to have things be just so. So I'm not going to make the hat that way, but if you wanted to, you could pin your 2 pieces right sides together. I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm pinning them right sides together. You could pin them wrong sides together and then use that finished like little cut edge as kind of a design element for your finished hat. All right, so I've got them pinned at the side seams, and now the curves, and sometimes like beginners have a little bit of a hard time with curves, right? Because they kind of like, they're a little weird. You're not just pinning like 2 straight seams, the straight pieces together where you're gonna make a straight seam. You have these curves, and I'll tell you, the linen is so forgiving. It's very easy to work with because you can kind of, you know, ease it really easily. I guess that's kind of what easing is. I guess, well, anyway. So I'm going to pin it together. I'm going to pin right through all the layers, and I'm going to pin, you know, maybe all total, I think I'll have 6 pins around the brim that just make it all kind of match up nice and even. And how's everybody doing out there? Catherine, are you still with us? Catherine Swearengen? I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. I'm probably terribly tearing it apart. But if you're still with us on YouTube, how's the picture? Is it any better than it was? I hope so. And has anybody been with me for the duration of the series? Let me know how you're doing. Somebody was commenting yesterday on one of the posts I had done and talked about the hat that they were just putting on finishing. I'd love to see pictures. If you're with us and you have pictures of where you're at, post them in the comments. It's really fun for everybody to see. Okay, so I have my hat pinned together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch. I'm going to take a running stitch just around the edge. I'm going to use like actually 1 centimeter is the seam allowance allowed on this particular pattern. So I'm going to take a 1 centimeter seam allowance and a running stitch around the perimeter of the hat, and I'm going to leave an opening of like 3 or 4 inches, probably 4 inches, so I can turn it right side out. And then once I've turned it right side out, I'm going to top stitch the brim, add a bunch of texture and kind of body to the brim. So can you see this here? So that is going to be the next step for anybody who is following along. And this hat that I'm showing here is machine sewn, so it's you know, the top stitching is going to be very different. I'll show it on the other side too, if you can see that on the brim. Try to hold it still so you have a minute. And this top stitching on the sample I did was like very regular, like I just did rows, like around and around and around, and about like a 1/4 inch apart. On this hat, I used a little bit more. I used some red thread. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out with the quality of the video today, but this very kind of, it's not consistent. So and that's actually really hard to see on this hat because of the patterning, and the this fabric is almost like a very short velvet kind of finish. It's got like a little nap to it. But I kind of crisscrossed and I kind of spider webbed the stitching on this hat, which gives another nice look. So those are a couple places that you can kind of get a little creative with your hat construction. So that's the next step. Oh, good. It's sharpened up a little bit on YouTube. That's so interesting. I just actually understood how this stuff works. I just don't. Anyway, so now I'm going to take any questions, any ideas, thoughts, experiences to share. So if anybody out there is following along and has any questions, ideas about how to recycle textiles in a different way for this project, please post your comments and I'd be happy to hop on them. And while you guys are doing that, I want to show you something else that I did. And while you're posting questions, and I'll get back to those in just a second. So when I made this layer of what I'll call interfacing, even though it's really just a layer of the linen, I wasn't sure if I wanted to turn it right side, you know, sew them right sides together and turn it to have a finished edge like the 2 samples I have here, or if I really wanted to have kind of like a cut edge that would be kind of a design element for the hat. So when I cut the interfacing piece, I cut it full width to come out to the edge. Now that I know I'm going to turn it, what I want to do is I want to trim part of it off. So before I trim it, I'm going to stitch it with my running stitch, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to trim it next to that stitch. So there's not as much bulk in that very edge of the hat. The stitch will hold it in place, and then when I trim it, it'll be kind of tucked into the fold when I turn it right side out. So that's just a little tip for you to know if you are wondering about whether or not, you know, is that cut edge going to look cool, or is it going to be too distracting and not really the look that you want? And you don't have to decide until you get to that point where it's time to do that. So right now, I'm going to start stitching this, and I'll just show you. It's a very simple little running stitch that I do. And let me get started here. Okay. So it's a little hard to see with the quality of this video, but I'm just going to make a couple stitches, and then I'll show you. So there's my needle. It's just an in and out stitch. Super duper simple. Okay. Right, cool. So Mr. Pierce, or Mr. Pierce, you've joined all three. Thank you so much for being with me for all three of my little sun hat lessons. I'm excited. I can't wait to see. Are you working on a hat? Is this something that you're following along with, or are you just enjoying the time we're spending together? So I don't see any questions today. And let me just scroll back and make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, there's lots of people on. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you do run into any questions as you're making your sun hat, please just leave them in the comments on whatever channel you're watching on, and I will get to them myself. The other thing I want to say before I sign off today is that this is like the tip of the iceberg, you guys. Textile waste is the textiles in general, like the garment industry, textile manufacturing, is the second largest polluter of industry in the world after the oil and gas industry. So we have the power, even though sometimes it seems overwhelming and like this is way bigger than we are. We created it. It's not bigger than us. We can tackle this. And together, we can do that with fun and creativity and community. So this is just a really good example of how we can work together doing something that is really nurturing to us as individuals and to our community at large. And, you know, we can make something that's functional and going to serve us for years to come. And it'll remind us of this time that we've spent together. And, you know, if you're using fabrics in your hat that have meaning to you, if they're something that maybe your friends or family passed on to you, or maybe somebody who passed away has left behind and you're using that to kind of commemorate them. Somebody was on the other day who was using their grandmother's linens to make a hat. Like, what a great idea, right? Have that kind of connection to the fabrics and to really honor that person who spent time in her, you know, grandmother sitting and stitching, kind of similarly to the way we are now, and to bring that back to life and to really honor that person in the process is a pretty awesome aspect of what we do, right? So how to add the top circle was a question I have. How to add the top circle. I actually finished my hat on Friday. Awesome. So if you finished your hat, anybody out there who has finished a hat or is working on a hat, it would be so great. And I would feel so good if I could see pictures of what you made, or if you're in process, where are you in process? Like, it doesn't need to be neat or tidy or beautiful or anything. Just show me what you're working on. It makes me feel so great when I know that there's people out there benefiting from my little teachings. So how to add the top circle was a question I have. If you have a pattern that you downloaded for free from my little page, which I will post in the comments on all my feeds right as soon as I get done with this, just in case, if you haven't had a chance to download a free pattern, you can go to, there's 4 different links with 4 different patterns that are all kind of cool and cute, different little, slight, you know, different variations on the same theme. Each pattern has instructions that come with it. So when you download your pattern, you are going to have they all have 3 sort of pieces. So you have, this is called hat top, and this is the part that's going to be on the flap. And then this is the hat side. So this would be like, you know, this part. And then this is the brim. So that would be, you know, the part that kind of goes around like that. And for this particular pattern, this is the pattern made by Liz Haywood. You'd have to cut 2 of each of these pattern pieces to create your hat. And then 2 of your outside fabric, 2 of your inside fabric. So there's actually 4 of each of these. And when you first construct it, you're going to put these 2 pieces together, and then you're going to sew your middle part in. And each pattern has some pretty clear instructions. So if you're stuck and you just don't know how to do that, let me know. Leave a comment, and if you downloaded your hat pattern, you got your instructions, looking at your instructions, and you're still just like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Let me know, because I can help you a little bit with that. But they're pretty straightforward. The other thing I've noticed, and actually with this particular hat pattern, the Liz Haywood pattern, I love the pattern, but the instructions were kind of not great. Download a different hat pattern and just follow the instructions that they provide, and use the pattern that, if you like the Liz Haywood pattern the best, use her pattern, follow the instructions from a different pattern, and you'll have kind of everything you need together. Thank you for that question, though. I can't remember who asked that, so I'm sorry. But at any rate, thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I don't want to keep you too long. These are little 20-minute sessions. I'll be back tomorrow with our final session. And I'm going to say that for tomorrow, if you have finished your hat, I would love to see a picture. So if you feel like you want to put it on and take a selfie, that would really rock my world. And I know that it would also really rock everybody else's world, because how fun is it to see your project with all the other people's projects? And I can tell you, it's so interesting. Like, even when I teach like in person and people are all sitting together working on a project, everybody's interpretation of my teaching is their own, and you get you just see this really rich and beautiful, distinct style that each person puts into their work. It's very visible and really cool. So on that note, I am going to say goodbye for today, and I'll look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow at noon for our final day of our Sun Hat sessions made with recycled and upcycled clothing. Take good care and have a great rest of your Monday. Bye.